Hello, pizza people, and welcome to the Pizza Party. Today, we're going to talk about some things that I will never forget. My name's Troy, and you can find links to all of my YouTube channels at troysweb.com. Today, we're going to talk about specifically my personal pizza history, and that will lead us into some recent photos of my pizza experiments in the next video. However, those are the things that led me to create this channel. Contrary to the YouTube experts, I love hearing the story behind content creators. YouTube experts tell you that nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about your story. They say viewers just want another copy of another viral video, and they tell you to just copy everything everyone else does. Don't be original. Don't be creative. Just copy videos, copy titles, copy thumbnails. Do what other people who have viral videos do. They tell you just copy the big channels, copy the viral videos. But, I say nope. I'm going to do what I want to do, and that's that. Let's go. When I was a kid, pizza night was a big deal. We probably only went out for dinner or restaurants of any kind twice a month. But we went out for pizza once a month. So it was a really special thing, and my mom never made pizza at home, so me and my sister were on our best behavior because we knew this was a big deal. We loved pizza. It was a treat. It was something special and different that we almost never had. You can't call, grade school, elementary school, or high school pizza cafeteria pizza. You can't call that pizza, dude. I know some people do, but it's not on my list. All right. So anyway, me and my sister were on our best behavior because this is a big deal for us. My dad was pretty gall darn awesome, and he tried to take us out for dinner twice a month. He got paid twice a month, and we would go out for pizza once. And there was another place. I'm gonna give it away, man, called the Redwood Inn that had a buffet. And on Sunday, we went to the buffet after church. And I loved that place. But for today, we're going to talk about pizza and the things that I will never forget about pizza. All right, so before we start the pizza story, let me tell you just one more thing. When I was a kid, we had a few pizza joints that we went to on the regular, right? And the ones that I remember, like way before my dad got the promotion and the better job and the stable situation and dinner twice a month out at restaurants, that was a whole different thing. When I was younger, we actually went to a restaurant called Barnaby's, and I definitely remember Barnaby's pizza because that's the pizza that had a very strong fennel seed sausage. And let's see, I think 30 years later, 10 years later, I took a girl, I asked a girl from church out on a date. And she was a little meek and mild and, had only been on a couple of dates with boys. And she was 19 years old, dude. It was so weird. But I was only like 21, 22. Anyway, we went to Barnaby's restaurant. And, I asked her, well, she's like, well, I kind of want to stick close to home, close to my mom. Okay. Can you recommend a restaurant in your town? Because I don't know that. I don't know what's in your town. What would be close to your mom's house, or where do you want to go? And she said, well, we can go to Barnaby's Pizza. Bada bing. Barnaby's? Are you kidding me? I'm down. I used to go there when I was 10 years old. It was a different location, but it was the same chain. They only had 4 or 5 restaurants, as far as I know. Maybe more. I don't know. I'm not a pizza historian, but man, I love that girl to this day. She's so sweet, so nice. I know her on Facebook, and it was really nice. We had a great dinner. Man, Barnaby's, the fennel sausage just came ripping back into the forefront of my mind when I thought about, what was the first pizza place I remember going to? Barnaby's, with my mom and dad. So, anyway, long story long, we ended up going to, there was another place near our house, or near where we went to and it was called the brown onion or the purple onion. And for some reason, I remember a stained glass image. That was their sign. The sign in front of the restaurant was this big, glowing, lit up neon. Well, not neon, but it was backlit stained glass of an onion, and it looked like art obscura. Like you couldn't tell what the hell that was supposed to be until you understood. Oh, it's the brown onion or it's the purple onion. I can't remember which one it was, but anyway, there was another place in town called Monocle's Pizza, and yeah, remember Chef Boyardee? I'm sure you do. He's got the little chef's hat on his head, but he's got the chubby cheeks and stuff. Monocle's Pizza had a similar little caricature cartoon face guy, but he had a monocle. He had a one-eyed pair of glasses. Pair of glasses. No, he had a monocle, and it had the string, and it went around his ear. And Monocle's Pizza, and that was the thing. I remember that. Like all of that was before I was like 10 years old. Of course, Pizza Hut was in the mix because back in the day, Pizza Hut was an actual sit-down restaurant. It was a restaurant, dude. You went there instead of just takeout and fast food and garbage pizza. It was pretty damn good pizza back in the day. Anyway, now let's get on with the pizza show. All right, so now we're going to enter, we went through up until I was 10 years old, and then from when I was 10 years old to 20 years old, and now we're going to talk about, well, it's kind of in between the 10 and 20-year-old, and that's pothead pizza. So in like 1980, I guess I would have been a sophomore in high school. Actually, between sophomore and junior year is when we started hitting Little Caesars, and then Domino's came into town. But that was pothead pizza. We would all throw in $1 to give the one kid who turned 16 ahead of some of us 15-year-olds, and his parents bought him a car and stuff. So we'd give him gas money. Everybody had to throw in $1. There were 5 dudes in the car. We went down to the river, down to the park. We built a bonfire, sat around, smoked joints. We had one dude with an older brother who could buy us beer, and sometimes we did that. If you've been there, you've done that, you know what I'm talking about. If not, oh well, I just described a bunch of illegal activity from, 40 years ago. Anyway, so yeah, I looked up how much gas cost in 1980. It was $1.19 a gallon. But I used to be the guy who always had multiple joints, and I would just throw in a joint instead of $1. So we would get high, we would eat pizza, and then we would go home. That was it. So later in life, maybe the year 2000, is when I found Papa John's, and that was a whole different thing, but maybe more on that later. All right, so in 1988, I had a baby. Well, I didn't have a baby. My girlfriend had a baby. My wife had a baby, right? She was always my girlfriend because, man, I loved her to death, right? That was my girlfriend. She was my wife. She became my wife. But we used to order Pizza Hut on the regular, and the Pizza Hut near our house was takeout only. There was no sit-down restaurant from Pizza Hut anymore. What the hell happened to Pizza Hut? The thing just blew up, or it dried up. I don't know, man. Now, later in life, I actually found sit-down Pizza Hut restaurants, and this was probably 10 years later. And they still had the lunchtime pizza buffet at a few locations near where I worked. Well, I took advantage of that at least once a week. I loved it. Pizza Hut was always good. It wasn't as good later in life as it was earlier in life, but when, me and the wife and the baby wanted real pizza in a restaurant, we went to a place nearby our house where we lived, because that's what you do, right? You go where you go to the place that's nearby, and we went to Aurelio's. Aurelio's pizza was quite good, and I was pretty happy with that. So I'm going to backtrack and forward track a couple times in the next couple of sections, but in 1991, I had I was pregnant with my second child. No, I had two boys, 88 and 91, right? And but my wife gave birth to them. I only participated for 20 minutes, 30 minutes initially, and then I spent the rest of my life taking care of them. So anyway, in 1991, there was a place called Home Run and Pizza, and man, that was really, 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 really good. And the only reason I came across Home Run and Pizza is my mom and dad lived about an hour south of our house. It was only 30 miles, but it took an hour to get there through the Chicago suburbs, right? So me and the wife would drive like 10 miles. My parents would drive like 20 miles because they were out way south of Chicago. So the first 10 miles for them was, 10 minutes. And then they hit Chicago suburban traffic. Yabba dabba doo. So anyway, Homerton, my mom, I got to give her credit. She would take our kids every Friday. She would call us and say, "Hey, what are you guys doing this weekend? Can we have the kids? Do you want the kids to come over?" Really? Sometimes yes and sometimes no. Because eventually, as the kids got older, of course, they went to T-ball and they did Little League and all that crap. So, time with grandma became less, but, early my mom loved babies. What else can you say? So they were willing to come and give me and the girlfriend, the wife, date night. Oh my God. It was so awesome. We got to go out and be young people, and it was fun. But, come Sunday afternoon, I miss my boys. So anyway, but in the meantime, we would always meet up at Home Run Inn. We'd meet at the restaurant. We'd have dinner. The kids were tiny. They didn't eat, but it was nice to sit down and have a really good meal. My parents take kids. Me and the girlfriend would go out, or me and the wife. So yeah, man, that was a big part of life. Now, backtracking a little bit, or I guess continuing on with that situation. In 1991, I was working in the city of Chicago. I was there for over a decade, and I built out the inside of the Sears Tower, John Hancock Center, the Standard Oil or Aon building, the Prudential building, 311 Wacker or the AT&T building. They had different names at different times, just like the Sears Tower is now called the Willis Tower because somebody bought the building and changed the name. There was the red or the green glass river building. I can't remember what it was called, but it was the building followed the curve of the Chicago River. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful building. I worked in so many iconic Chicago high-rises doing interior work with metal studs, drywall, doors, frames, hardware, and acoustic ceilings, and cabinetry and countertops in the printer station, the break rooms, the lunch rooms, the cafeterias, this, that, and the other thing. But I also worked all over the suburbs. And I built banks and restaurants and fire, what do they call them? Fire stations, police departments, emergency rooms, hospitals, blah, blah, blah. But when we were working in the city of Chicago in a high rise, we were there for a good long 6 months, 12 months, sometimes a year and a half, doing 6 floors for a law firm that was spending gobs and gobs of money. It was incredible how much money and the beautiful things that I saw by the mill workers, the wood guys. Oh my God. Oh my God. The elevator lobbies we built, elliptical soffits, blah, 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 blah. It has nothing to do with pizza, right? But I digress. You're going to get a lot of that around here. You never know where the conversation will go. Stick around. We're like 2 dudes hanging out in the kitchen. All right? Hang around. I'll tell you stories. Anyway, so yeah, I worked in Chicago inside of high-rises for a long time. And when the project was wrapping up, the general contractor usually waited until the core group was there. The guys who started the job, the guys who did the brunt of the work. We occasionally had some specialists come in, hang a bunch of drywall, do a bunch of insulation, do a bunch of fireproofing, and then poof, those guys were gone. But the rest of us were still there, still plowing through on the next floor, the next floor, the next floor. The guys who got it done, overall, they gave us a pizza party. And a lot of those times, and I mean, it was Chicago, dude. It was the best pizza in the world. I don't care what you say. It is the best pizza in the world, Chicago style pizza. And Chicago style makes all kinds of pizza. It just doesn't make New York pizza because New York pizza wants to call themselves New York pizza. So you guys can go do your thing in New York. We don't care. But we were catered for lunch by Pizzeria Uno, Giordano's, Lou Malnati's, Connie's, Nancy's, and we had all kinds of pizzas. Like if they catered for Uno, we would get the Uno regulars, right? The thin crusts. Then we would get the Uno stuffed crust or the thick crust, and then we would get the Uno stuffed or whatever the hell. Same thing with Giordano's. They make not Giordano's isn't just deep dish pizza. They have thin crust pizza. So we would get right? They ordered a little bit of everything from every one of these places. And then they would occasionally throw in Rico Benny's, which I never enjoyed because I don't like sweet barbecue sauce on meat. I don't like sweetened meat. Not my favorite thing. I don't like barbecue chicken. I don't like barbecue pork. I don't like pulled pork, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Rico Benny's was some of the guys' favorite thing. They ignored the pizza and they went for those pork pig sandwiches. Yuck. But dude, I've been around the pizzas in the Chicago area, and I am down for it. And then later in life, I moved out to the suburbs. I quit working in the city so much. I got invited to the office as a construction estimator, project manager, yabba dabba doo. And I got to be near some of these different locations, and I would drive 20 or 30 minutes, which was like 5 miles in the Chicago suburbs with all the traffic, dude, to get a Connie's pizza. It took me a half an hour, and then it took me another half an hour to get home, but it was well worth it. They didn't deliver to where I lived because just to go 5 miles from Connie's cost 30 minutes. They weren't coming to my house. You can't get a delivery. It's pickup only. That's it. Kiss my ass. That's the rules. So anyway, there were also tons of hole-in-the-wall tavern-style pizzas that I've had before and after work. Like, we would work in a weird place like the Social Security building or the Federal building or the Department of Naturalization and something, 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 and 18 different words. Then we would work for what are those people called? Who give people public housing? Whatever that's called. We worked there. We were like South Side, North Side, West Side, East Side, Sideways Side. Never worked in the Lake, Michigan. We did work at, guess what? Grant Park. We were part of the Bean Project, and some of the other things that happened there. But whatever. None of them were memorable or worth mentioning as far as the hole-in-the-wall tavern joints. But it was really good. You get off work, you walk down, you leave the building, you got to ride the freight elevator, you go through the alley because they don't want the dirty construction workers in the lobby with all the fancy lawyer people in their dresses and suits, right? Ew, gross. You people are peasants. Go out the back door. Don't let us ever see you building out the fucking glorious offices we inhabit, right? I'm going down the rabbit hole big time, bro. But listen, I think you need to know this. This is my history. And if you're not interested, then move along. I'll put out some more videos later. So anyway, when you leave the building, you go out the alley, you walk down the street. Hey, you guys want to get a beer? Hell yeah. And so we'd stop in a bar, randomly walking from one place to another place to another place on our way to the gravel parking lot because we walked 10 blocks to park a car in the cheapest possible parking lot. We didn't pay 30 or 50 bucks a night or a day to park in the Sears Tower parking garage. No, dude, 30 bucks a day? Are you kidding me? We'd park 10 blocks away and pay 6 bucks. Yeah, that's also where my truck got broke into, my window got broke out, my spare tire got ripped off, my catalytic converter got cut off. They never took the tires off my truck. So I was always able to drive home. And blah, blah, blah. Living in Chicago sucked. Or working in Chicago sucked. There were some benefits. Decades later. Oh, man, I love that pizza variety that I got to experience for free. And then I got to pursue later in life. So, anyway, After work, we hit the hole-in-the-wall tavern-style pizza joints when we were going for a beer, walking to the parking lots far out of town. And then, some of them, or I mean, none of them were really worth mentioning. It's a hole-in-the-wall pizza joint, and in order to get a liquor license in Chicago, they had to have food. They had to serve food to get a liquor license. In some areas of the city, some districts, what do they call them? What are those guys called? Not the little local landlord guy, the little pussy ass, useless, meaningless politician. The ward. They govern a ward. I don't know. Chicago's just such a jacked up place for politics. Let's not go there. Anyway, all that crap happened downtown, and then eventually, when I got to the construction office, from there I went to a software startup company. What? Yeah, I did that. Anyway, the only hole-in-the-wall pizza joint in the Chicago area that I remember is Falco's Pizzeria. In my experience, it was on Illinois State Route 83 in Willowbrook, Illinois. It started apparently in the city of Chicago. There was another branch that grew in Willowbrook and another branch somewhere else in the suburbs. One of them eventually closed down. I think the one in Chicago actually closed down because they just taxed them to death. Yeah, there we go, back to Chicago politics. But anyway, Falco's is on, like I said, Illinois State Route 83 in Willowbrook, just south of I-55. Their pizza was good, and I only went there because the boss was buying pizza, right? Once a month, they'd take, there was only 4 of us. Once a month we'd get lunch on the company, right? And he would take us to this pizza joint. It was pretty cheap. But then they hired a 5th guy, and it wasn't just a 4-man company. Now we're 5 guys. They had to order 2 pizzas. Oh my God. The new guy was a big fat Polak. So anyway, me and the big fat Polak were friends. He had a street bike, I had a street bike, and eventually we went to lunch together, and we started going to Falco's because they served Italian beef, dude. And once I had an Italian beef, I never ordered a pizza there again. That was it. First, kind of like, I think that was pretty much my first exposure to Italian beef, and I ordered but I learned quickly, right? I understood that there was a dry Italian beef that you order with juice on the side, or gravy, or au jus on the side. And then you could also get a dipped Italian beef where they dip it in the au jus, and the whole thing is just a soggy frickin' mess. And the dude that I worked with, he told me, he ordered the Italian beefs because he was a fat boy. He knew his way around the city of Chicago style Gold Coast stuff, Italian beefs, and he got a really wet Italian beef. He got his Italian beef wet, and that means that they dip the meat and then they throw it right on the bread, so it's really, really juicy. The au jus is just making the bread super soggy. It's a mess to eat. Your hands are gross. You have to wash your hands 3 times, get up away from the table throughout just trying to eat a sandwich. So I eventually learned to order my Italian beef dry, mozz and hots, which means I want the Italian beef. They use tongs. They grab a wad of Italian beef. They jiggle it, and try to shake it dry. Then they put it on your bread. It's still moist. It's still wet. You're still going to get some liquid absorbed into the bread. But then, mozz and hots. I want mozzarella, hot peppers. Hot peppers are giardiniera. That's an Italian variety of peppers. It's a mixture of peppers in olive oil. And mozz and hots, mozzarella and hots. And then I want 2 juice on the side. So I paid for extra gravy or sauce or au jus sauce or whatever you want to call it. So I learned that, and then I always ordered my beef that way. It's like having Italian beef with mozz and hots as a French dip sandwich. And if you know what a French dip is, you know what I'm talking about. It's roast beef on a French roll. In this case, it's roast beef on an Italian garlic bread, garlic roll. and with mozzarella and hot peppers instead of the French dip with just a little bit of au jus. I guess French dip you can ask for cheese, but whatever. Italian beef, dry, mozz and hots, two juice on the side, lots of dipping happening, and I'm a happy camper, and that was wonderful. And me and that dude went there every week. I always had an Italian beef every week, a big old giant football. What do you call it? Football steak burrito. Oh my God. I'm serious. It was the size of a Nerf football. And if you never had a Nerf football, go buy one. They're fun. Throw it with your kid. He's going to love you. I threw the Nerf footballs with my boys all the time. And anyway, on top of, or as a side order for that Italian beef, I would get a side of onion rings, breaded. They also offered battered. However, I liked breaded because there was dry parm on the table to go for the pizzas. And I hit my Italian beef with the dry parm, and I hit the breaded onion rings with the dry parm. If you hit the battered rings, the dry parm just falls right off because battered is a smooth coating, breaded is a granular coating, and yeah, dry parm on breaded onion rings. Bomb, dude, bomb, bomb, bomb. Anyway, I talk more about the Chicago style Italian beef on my channel at PizzaGuyDIY. We're going to be making Chicago style Italian beef pizzas on this channel soon. Stay tuned. There are multiple varieties. You can have a single crust, double crust, all kinds of varieties. Dude, stick around. Fool around, find out. Coming up, well, we're going to have a bunch of pictures of my recent hacks for pizzas and all kinds of other stuff. I have a folder full of 1,000 ideas and 1,000 topics and 1,000 varieties of pizza and things. So subscribe to the channel, click that all notifications bell, click that like button, because if nobody likes me, everybody hates me, and I'll just quit making videos. So I need some encouragement. I need to see that people care. Hit that like button. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. The share button is really wild, dude. You click share, and you can send a link to this video on email, Twitter, text messages, you name it. It's there. And also comments. I've been in some YouTube communities that are really, really, really helpful and polite and kind and help. Well, I already said helpful, right? Yeah, y'all are cool. Keep coming back.